Morning from what looks like is going to be quite a nicely sunny morning, at least here in South Wales, in the United Kingdom, in Wales, of course. And yeah, I'm going to get out for another walk. That'll be a third day in a row. Yesterday, I managed to dodge really heavy rain. I had a quick walk, got my steps in for the day, and just as I got back to the car, some big rain spots started, and by the time I'd driven away, oh my gosh, the heavens had opened. Not just heavy rain, but hail, and it went as it was dark. The clouds were really black. I saw them, and it was one of those days where I was walking in bright sunshine with a brisk wind, lovely, but the skies around me were glowering dark grey, almost black. I could see the rain falling from the clouds as well. It was that heavy that it created that kind of haze over things. So I was glad I made it back to the car because I didn't have a coat on and I would have been soaked through. And so there we are. So that was yesterday's weather. Today's weather, I think it's sunny periods, possible showers, but I should be able to dodge those later. But start my day as I like to do. I'm going to be drawing, and I'm going to do another one of these ones that has words on, and I've chosen this little word, but respect. It's off my list. Just cut it out, so I'm going to decide where I'm going to put it. I quite enjoyed having the word down here somewhere, so I think I might do the same today. But let's have a look. Come on, the glue. It's quick drying, stinky, gluey stuff. Actually, let's pop it over that side, because who says that we have to have it exactly where? So let's try and pop it there. I think that'd be quite nice. Again, the edges are rough because I just used a ruler to tear them out. And that's okay, because I'll scan this in digitally to work on, and all will be well. The other thing I've done is I've spent a little bit of time gathering some patterns from my visual dictionary that I'd like to perhaps use in this. Why? Well, because I like them, because I haven't used some of them for quite a while. Some perhaps in one guise or another I've used them, but I just thought they'd be nice today. Lots of circles and puffy things, but we'll work with that. Obviously, I reserve the right to add more in, and they really are quite simple to draw. Things look complicated, but they're not. But if you ever want me, or if you'd like to see a kind of tutorial where I show how I draw these things, just let me know. But then, they're basic, really simple shapes. But what I am going to do around my little word today is I am going to draw in a bit of a pencil border here. Ooh, that one I want to go out just that little bit, so that I keep my distance from it. I've got a nice area around there, which of course means that when I come to having to erase any shadows from that word, it happens. Now then, quandary times. Beside me, I have a pile of pens, because I dug out some new uni pins for a purpose, and they were on my desk. So do I use those, or do I go with the uni ball eyes? Oh, I'm nearly out of ink in one. Now that is unusual for me. Normally they dry up, so I really do like my uni ball eyes at the moment. So yeah, pop those out of the way. I will keep the fine one at hand, because who knows, but it's the micro one is the one that I really like. So let's have a look here. I'm going to start with one of these leaves. Which could be a leaf, but it could also be something else. And I like to put things like that in. Little spaces to put extra bits of colour or pattern. Well, I don't know about pattern, but definitely extra bits of spaces. So, very interest. They don't all have to be in the same place, which is lovely. Go. So, not lots happening really. My life is pretty much the same on a day-to-day basis, and things perhaps I'd like to talk about or even have a rant about are things that I don't want to particularly share with the world, because that's not what the purpose of my vlog is for. I did mention, well, I don't know if I did mention something in my blog yesterday, because my blog tends to be a bit more like that. But respect is a word that's particularly important at the moment, I think, in relation to something that's been going on. Nothing disastrous, it's just that you just think, it's trying, yeah, respect. But self-respect is so important as well. I think it's a word that is much misused in many ways. I wasn't that long ago, well it was about a year ago, where I was quite firmly told that the boundaries I'd set down to keep myself healthy and happy were disrespectful to somebody. And it helped me understand that if somebody can't respect your boundaries, work with you so you can lower them, then really who is being disrespectful? Me for saying, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that, or this goes against my core values, or just saying no, and you get personally attacked for it. I try to respect other people's boundaries and rules and limits. I do. Sometimes perhaps even to a fault, but I just think that it's something there. And certainly when I was teaching, I'd be spoken to and treated appallingly by some pupils. And when I said, no, that's unacceptable, and made myself known that, made the views known that, no, this is not an acceptable behaviour or attitude to have, they'd say I was disrespecting them. Very strange. This is unacceptable in my room. This is unacceptable behaviour towards me or towards any of the other students in there. It's like, you no matter how you behave, you have to be respected. No, I don't think that's the case. Really don't. And me being able to say no to somebody when I'm uncomfortable is a big thing, because for most of my life I haven't. I haven't spoken up for myself. I've accepted what other people have wanted for them to be happy, despite how it makes me feel. And although I'm late coming to this skill, and it's taken a long time to learn, and longer because I don't really have the the opportunities, I suppose, to practice it, to say no to people. It's going to be interesting as we come out of lockdown, how people cope with the idea of saying, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. Yeah, you might be comfortable doing that now, but I'm still not. I had this last night, and in a couple of months' time, I've temporarily agreed to give a talk, sort of, kind of talk somewhere. But I've laid down the rule, the continuing. I've said, look, it all depends on me having my second vaccination. It also depends on what's happening with the virus. It also depends on how comfortable I feel, because I am struggling with being around people. In fact, I don't go around people. It's simple tasks like popping to a supermarket are major events these days, and I avoid going as much as I can, but sometimes it just has to be done, and I don't have enough shopping that I need to do something like a click and collect. So I try and find ways around it. So for milk, I might pop to a local petrol station that has a little supermarket attached, where I know it's quiet there and there's never many people and everything's done well there, as it were. But I try to be so when I said, okay, I'll pencil it in for then, but it's with a big caveat that I reserve the right to just say I'm not comfortable and I'm not going to come. I'm not going to be able to come. And I think that's okay, to be honest. The person wasn't offended at all. They said, no, I'll phone you, check with you. And, we understand, and that's fine. So that's great, because I think it's still too early really for me to say one way or another. It's troubling times, shall we say, and uncertain times still for us all. But things will and are getting better, certainly in this corner of the world, but sadly not all the way around the world. That's a very unusual arrangement, so I don't know why I've kept doing this one. I think it's because I just simply like the shape, to be honest. So yeah, so respect's a funny old word these days. Now, I've always thought that you have to earn respect, that it's not automatically given to you by people. It shouldn't be. But perhaps, I don't know, it's so complicated, isn't it? Yeah, it most probably isn't as complicated as I think it is. It's because I haven't had enough coffee this morning, or tea, or anything. I really didn't sleep well Sunday night into Monday morning. And when I did I kept busy all day yesterday, or I kept awake all day yesterday at least. And when I did get to bed last night, I was out for a count until it was probably just before 6 this morning. What time is it now? Oh, it's 7:25. It took me quite a while to come around this morning. As well, because I'd been so deeply asleep. So a lesson to me, afternoon naps, I may be able to do it, but it's most probably the best thing is not to if I want a good night's sleep. And I definitely do tonight, because tomorrow's Wednesday, and anybody who listens to me on a regular basis knows that Wednesday is always a day where I get up early. because it's organic food delivery day. So I like to be able to get my boxes of goodies in as soon as possible. Because why not? So I'm going to keep myself occupied. I really do need to settle to, I keep saying this every day, I really need to settle to work on this book I've got to do by the end of June, colouring book. And I still haven't got to it. Keep procrastinating and finding other things to do. This isn't procrastination. This is how I start my day, regardless of what else I'm doing in the way of work and things like that. So it doesn't take that long to edit a video really and sort it out, as I tend to. It is what it is. Yesterday I did do a time lapse with music because I realised I was beginning to rant about something, and I really didn't want to turn into a vlogger who rants about things going on in life, because really, I know there are people who enjoy hearing that. And sometimes, the titles of vlogs really are clickbait, because you think, oh my goodness, what's up with them? And so you have a look and you think, oh really? The ones I particularly like is where they're having a go at sorry, I don't particularly like, the ones I particularly dislike are where people are having a go at somebody else for whatever. So I'm very conscious of that. And, people are people, though. And we all have different ideas within the realms of the extreme totally acceptable to totally unacceptable. There are shades right the way in between, I suppose. And that's what makes people and life really, I suppose, interesting, is that we are all quite different, yet all quite the same as well. And of course, we've got the option to go, nah, I've had enough of that. Nope, don't want to listen to this. So get me out of here and move on to something else. I suppose there's a touch of the vicarious in watching videos like that, where people are having a go at something in their life, or getting quite personal about things. It's the but it's not really for me. There has been, really. This is going to be a very strange pattern. I can already feel it in my waters, as it were, my creative waters. But perhaps it'll work out okay. It's early days, and in early days, when it comes to me creating some kind of design, I get to a point where I think, oh God, what am I thinking? What's going through my head here? Because this is very much intuitive. I've got an idea. So I've got the list of patterns here I would like to use or could use, ones that I felt, oh, I like that one. These aren't on my list, but then these are the little seedy things with the inner. I'm going to put a black dot on these instead of colouring these in black and leave a white area. So that's a bit different for me. So these are a familiar filler, I suppose, because I don't mind leaving space, but I won't leave huge. If I can tuck something cute and cuddly in, I will. So sometimes you think, yeah, that just doesn't look right, so I do that. Itching. Yeah, I've started itching all over again, so I guess the perhaps the signs of menopause are coming back, or it could just be that I was overheated overnight and that started it. And tree pollen is definitely causing problems and issues at the moment. I have yesterday was pretty in some ways. The antihistamines help, but they don't stop it all. No doubt I could ask for stronger ones or different ones to be tried, but for the sake of a month or two in a year, I'll be okay. I can cope. On my walk yesterday, horse chestnut candles were out. I've always known the spikes of flowers on horse chestnut trees as candles. In fact, one of my earliest memories was when we were still living in Cheshire as a family, and walking to school. It's I think it would have been the very first school I was at, and perhaps not. Walking to one of the primary schools I went to. Actually, yeah, it would be the second one, the new built one. And I can remember seeing these trees and these spikes of flowers and pink and white. Some trees are pink, some are white. And yet it was foggy and misty. And it's just one of those things where it was just that sense of, wow, look at that. So it may have been the very first time in my life I'd actually paid conscious attention to such things. Because I would have been about 5 years, I would have been 5 years old. And just one of those odd memories. I can still remember the smell. So, smell is one of our most powerful memory joggers. You smell something you haven't smelt for years, or you associate with somebody or some event, and suddenly all those memories come flooding back. It's like music. You listening to the radio and a song comes on and it just takes you back to a particular situation. If it's a good one, it's happy. If it's a bad one, it's, oh my God, change the station quickly. So, for some music, it's taken me years and years to overcome that kinds of associations I had with the music, to be able to listen to it again. But there's still some music I find incredibly difficult to listen to. It brings up things that I have dealt with in terms of therapy and so on, but it can still joggle the emotions a bit and bring memories up that I can find a bit unsettling, which perhaps says, well, therapy hasn't dealt with it. Well, it has, to a good enough degree. They don't impinge on my life in any other way than I don't like listening to that particular band or that particular kind of music anymore. But I suppose it is, it's life, isn't it? It's how things are, really. That shut me up, didn't it, talking about that? But yeah, it's that little, suddenly just go into a little space here of bit of reverie about things and reflecting on things, and if there's anything else I'd like to say about such things. But I'm not entirely sure I do. It is something we all have. It's a common human experience, I'm sure. I have my favourite songs of the moments, and some that will always be a kind of anthem for me, I suppose. I think the song that most represents me as I am now, perhaps, and it certainly was my anthem for a large part time travelling weekly to the MDR therapy, was Robbie Williams' I Love My Life. And whenever I hear it now, it's still, I get tingles, and something about the words just resonates. And as bad as my voice has become for singing, for whatever reason, whether it is asthma, whether it's a lack of use over the pandemic, whether the asthma medication, whether I damaged my vocal cords through coughing really badly before the asthma was diagnosed, I don't really know. But I'm going to stop this in a moment. I just need to pop and get something, so I'll be back in a Here we go, back again. Of course, for you, no time's passed, but there was something that I needed to do for a short period of time, so I'm back. There we are. So yeah, and of course, naturally, as me's me, I had no idea what I was talking about before I had to go. It was probably music, I think. I often have music on while I'm working, just not when I'm recording, because it would be a copyright infringement. So if I was going to do music over, oh gosh, look at that, I've made a right messy mess there, haven't I? Oh, I'll put my hand in wet ink. Sheesh. Look at it. Look. Splodge. It's okay. I'm just going, at least I noticed before I put little mucky marks everywhere. So, yeah. This is definitely being a very strange one this morning, I think. But it's okay. I can go with this is being a strange one. They're always a bit odd until they're finished, and then it's colour that really helps to bring them to life. So it's just very, very simple, I suppose, line work here. Because I can then add colour to really impart that kind of individuality to the different motifs, to the sections, just as you would do in a colouring book, colouring page. Except this is a lot more fussy and detailed than my editors for the Creative Haven series would like. I have to work with their desires and wishes. After all, they're the ones paying me for my work, and it's not always easy for me to get into that, which is why doing this, I say get into it. Sometimes it's not easy for me to do what's requested, like leave open spaces and not get so detailed with shapes and things like that, because sharp pencils, even the sharpest ones, won't fit in easily, and eyesight, and because So I'm learning these things, but this is why this kind of art, or being able to draw in the morning like this, is so important, because it allows me to do some of this, to get my hand working, and it also generates ideas for future creativity perhaps, or things that I can incorporate into colouring templates I'll be working on. Because if I'm doing a gardeny background or scene, then some of these will work really nicely. If it's underwater, then again, some of these will work quite nicely, won't they? I think so. And make of them what you'd like, really. Good. Let's just check that one in there. Now, I draw a border, I try to stick in it. You can see over here, I've gone outside. So, yeah. It's always a nice way for me to start the day. I say this, but it really is. My different point, I mentioned before that I'd bought some Fabriano toned paper, which is coloured paper for drawing and on, mainly because it's not really heavy duty, but it does have cotton in it, which means it's more durable than ordinary paper. I'll show you, because I've put together, this is interesting possibly, this is one of these disc bound journals, where you can take paper in and out and do things. I've got a punch, so I can punch any paper. This one is just A5 in size, which is perfect for popping in one of my handbags, because I do tend to carry a large handbag around with me. I'll put that over there because I have to carry an inhaler and one of the spacers or volumizers with me in case I have problems breathing due to pollen or dust or dry air or cold air or whatever. Rarely have to use it because I do have to say my asthma is quite well managed. So these discs are fab because paper just slots in and out. I'll show you in a moment, and you can get different size discs. I've got some sketchbooks that I've made myself. I've got really big discs in them, so it may be something I do in the future. But I think I'll stick to these because otherwise the sketchbook just for carrying around will get too big, and then I can transfer finished drawings and things. So I discovered there was paper already in this one. Some of it was black, and so I drew this yesterday because I was tired and fed up, and I thought, oh, I wonder how chalk pastels work on black. So a white gel pen, I think it was a Uniball Signo, and a light blue, a mid blue and white. And actually it turns out quite nicely. It just adds that little bit of colour to the black, but the black comes through, so it gives you the shadows. What does that remind you of? Oh yes, my digital art. Can you see these little slots? Little mushroom shapes? Well, that's what the punch cuts out, and then you just slot these in, like so. Ta-da! And the pages, they stay in there. They don't come out easily. I can pull and tag on that, and they ain't going to come out unless you lift them up and take them out by helping the tabs to come out of the discs. Fantastic things. This is the clay coloured Fabriano paper, so it's a quite a nice soft kind of grey. There's a hint of pink in it. It's sort of like, it's hard to describe so easily, but it's quite a warm grey. This is moss. This is the one I really wanted. It's really, really lovely colour, and I'm really drawn to these kinds of colours at this time in my life. And this one is sand. I thought I'd ordered ocean, but I ended up with 2 clay. Oceans are blue, so I may go and order that. But dear goodness, it took long enough to get to me. It took nearly 2 weeks, and it only came from the UK. And it was posted ages ago, so I guess cheapest and cheerful postage and packing. And then black. So what I've done here is I've just put a cycle of, you know, the colours in. So the paper packs I've got are A4 in size, so I've just cut the pages down into half to fit this. There's 50 sheets in each pack, which is fantastic, and they were less than £10 each, which is even more fantastic. I did do a drawing on a piece yesterday because I had to try it out. Where is it? It's here. Yeah, I know. I've got no idea what the heck I was drawing. And I'm looking at it and thinking, what was going through your mind? I think it might have been Escape to Another Galaxy a long time ago and far, far away. But who knows? It's just strange. And, well, you know, if I sit and draw and just see what happens, strange things do happen. But I'm intrigued to try pastels and coloured pencils on this paper. So I don't mind if this becomes a test piece. I want to finish drawing it. No doubt things will fill spaces up because things have to in my book. And yeah, but it's nice. That was drawn with a Uniball eye, but the fine, not the micro I'm using. So I'm chuffed to bits that those have arrived, and I'm even more chuffed to bits that I've put stuff together for this. And now I've gone and lost my fine pen. So I put it somewhere. There it is. Next to where I picked that up. Yep, morning. It's morning. So that's nice because I do like to draw on coloured paper. And I can use distress inks or distress oxides to colour paper. That's not a problem or an issue really for me. But sometimes it's nice to have, I say sometimes, distress inks and distress oxides change the surface of the paper a little, you know, somewhat, as you would expect they would. Anything would. And because certainly with the distress, well, both of them, they're always reactive to water, to moisture. They can become quite fingerprinted. That didn't make any sense, but you can often, sometimes if I'm somewhere and it's kind of a warm day, then my fingers are a little bit sweaty. I leave finger marks on the page, which, you know, it is what it is. It's, you know, in a sketchbook, but it's not nice when my fingers become coloured and I can't get the stuff off easily. So part of my job today, hopefully, is to try out some different coloured pencils, and I think coloured pencils would suit me more with these rather than chalk pastels, because coloured pencils would be more portable and they don't smudge. Oh, that's going to be a little bit different to the others, but it's nature, who cares? So just go with it, Angela. Actually, there we go. That makes it the same. So I was quite pleased with that. That made my day. And, well, it didn't, but it was sort of like, oh, great. And kept me awake. So, as well, because I had to use a piece. So it was the clay one I worked on. Because I just didn't, I don't know why. I think it's just because it was the first one I opened and I thought, oh, let's have a go with this. The surface is quite smooth, but the cotton added to it should make the paper quite durable. And perhaps it has more tooth than is apparent to my fingertips. Tooth is the surface texture of a paper, and for working with coloured pencils, it's about building up layers without compressing the tooth, because the tooth is where the pigment, you know, the lead from the pencil will settle and will create the layers of colour, the little pockets of colour. an indulgence is to use watercolour paper for drawing and using coloured pencils on. The rougher the texture, the more the texture tends to show through with the texture of the paper with the coloured pencils. But something like a hot pressed watercolour paper can be really pleasant, and it will hold an awful lot of pencil. Now, these shapes aren't an unusual one for me to add to work, because I really like this kind of shape of leaf, or even seed pod, because sometimes this shape will become a seed pod. But this one could be either. I'm not really sure. Not enough space there really to fit another one of those in, so I'll pop one of them in there. Fit one of those in. Fit one of these leafy shapes in. So I'll stick one of them in instead. So it's interesting. Trying to work out how I blend this into here, but I think it's going to be through doing this. This and then some here. Definitely building up layers of motifs here. This one is definitely very much behind these others. So let me have a look here. Sometimes I think when I start thinking about something, start overthinking, that's where it all goes wrong. Some ways for me. I may have a general idea of what I'd like to do, but there's no guarantee that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I'm going to leave this one here for today because I know time is marching on, and I just need to sort myself out, get this uploaded and get on to work, as well as shower and out for a walk. This morning, I don't know when the best weather is going to be. Gosh, I'm looking out the window and all the dandelion fluff that's blowing around. It almost looks like snow, but it's not. Yesterday walking, the wind was so strong as I was walking under trees with blossom on. The blossom was falling, and it was like walking through a mini snowstorm. Or not quite, it wasn't quite that thick, but it was so lovely. And it's things like that lift my spirits so much. I'm not one to walk in the wilds of nature, certainly not by myself. But I go to places where there is nature and where I feel safe. And just the simplest things just make me smile. It's the sight of a little flower, perhaps the first of the particular season, or things like petals of leaves being blown in the wind and circling around me and catching the light in different ways. It can be the different kinds of lichen that you see on stone, depending as to the time of year, the angle of light. Good gosh, those ones, dandelion fluff being blown upwards. Great. It's probably the sun heating tarmac. Oh no, it's wind. It's just the eddies of wind around buildings and so on. But yeah, and then bird song and birds that fly so close sometimes, and you see how their feathers, the corvid family, it's jackdaws and rooks or crows that I see most often. But the way their black feathers catch the light and become iridescent with purple and blues and greens, it's so lovely. Yeah, so I look forward to that, but I'm not a wet weather walker. If it's cold and wet, I just get miserable. So the positive is counteracted by the negative, and I can be cold and miserable for a long time afterwards. So anyway, witter on, I was going to finish. So I want to get that done. Hopefully it's beginning to darken again. But I think it is sort of like sunny intervals today. So the more I'm talking, the less I'm going to get things done. So Thank you for being with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my wittering this morning, because I really have wittered and grasshoppered. Really not with it. A lot of sleep. It's going to take me a while to come round as well properly. But I'll carry on with this. It's probably in tomorrow's and see where I get. And whatever you do, whatever time of day it is for you, whatever part of the day you have left, or the days until you come and pop along again, please take care of yourself and find moments for joy each day, whatever that joy for you is, whatever makes you smile and lifts your spirits that you can lose yourself in. So thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.